I'd like to welcome you back to the next lesson. And this lesson is called The Bottom Line on Consumption. So, why is our approach to consumption so important, right? Because consumption is half of an equation of giving and taking, right? It is the taking portion of our lives, right? And if we start to define our happiness in consumption, then we are defining happiness at the state of taking, right? And it becomes a more permanent state. But if we end the consumption, we will see that there is also the second half of the equation, and that is the part of giving, right? And when our happiness is centered in this higher state of giving, we will see that we will find true happiness, right? So our approach to consumption is important, right? I can't even say it. Consumption. Because we are conscious love, right? If you haven't done that section yet, check it out. Because we are conscious love. And we should be conscious of the fact that we are conscious love. We are sensitive, and we must realize that. When we are so sensitive, such a loving being, that if we are not careful, we can become trapped in our love of consumption, leaving the consumptive state the only state we experience in our lives, right? Always at the lower state of taking. That's right, though. There are worlds beyond consumption. This is something that many of us may never have thought about, right? Worlds beyond consumption, but many of us have never asked our bodies to take in only what is required for health and to do so at one sitting. In other words, to change our approach to consumption, right? To stop using it as a method to find emotional happiness and use it to simply find a fuel for our bodies, right? We have purchased a car, we have gone to the gas station, and we have filled that car. And we loved filling that car so much that all we did was fill the car full of gas. We would overfill it. It was so full we would start to tie gas cans full of gas to the roof and to the sides of the car, making the car difficult to get into. It simply was not really all that practical anymore. And it was never used for its original purpose to go on a journey, right? We got caught and fascinated by the state of fueling the car. In the same way, we are doing so with our bodies today. So we must view consumption as a medicine, or to view it as a fuel. If we begin to do that, our walk through our environment becomes a healthy walk, right? Simply taking in the things that we need for health each day, right? Becoming healthier and healthier from our connection to our environment. Much different than today when we become more unhealthy from our connection, right? So it's dangerous when we see consumption as a means to find happiness or comfort beyond the fuel that it is, right? Once we viewed consumption as a medicine, probably long before we were self-aware, right? And self-awareness might be the problem. We might have noticed that some things provide, a pleasure center feeling much nicer. And because we are self-aware, will we not chase those things more? So those events would become more concentrated in our evolutionary life. And because of that, our reactions would be more concentrated as well, right? We would want, our passing interest would become an obsession, to remain in that spot. It's because we love the physical effects of consumption that so much that it ends becoming viewed as a fuel in our minds, right? Instead of being a temporary stop to get fuel, it becomes our destination. And that's the danger in finding happiness in consumption. We move in and don't move far from that place, right? Because consumption becomes our home. We will see that it will limit our opportunities, right? Ringing our pleasure centers becomes our thing. Quite natural, but maybe too low of a level to stay at, right? but we stay anyways. Our happiness is defined at the physical level with no thought to the consequences that overconsumption can bring us, right? So it only is a good idea if we don't look at the coming karma that would affect our health in the future. Short-term thinking. Sounds like an addict, my teacher would say. And we are, right? We are simply abusing our medicine, our connection with our environment to provide health, to provide unhealth. And we do so for the feeling, right? Much like a drug abuser finds happiness in the rush of pills or drinks. Lasting happiness cannot be found at such a low vibration. This is not happiness anyways. It is simply satisfaction, right? A type of satisfaction. A temporary type of satisfaction that also comes with a great deal of dissatisfaction and a great deal of mental anguish, right? Controlling our destination, right? Keeping it in this place. We never move further to the state of giving. And this is because consumption keeps us in the taking position, right? We are always taking from the planet. And we can see the devastation of this planet when not only one of us is stuck in this state, but there are millions and millions of people stuck in the state of consumption to find happiness, when it is simply a fuel to move to the state of giving where happiness can be found, right? Consumption is the taking part of our lives. And just as all healthy components must be fed at some time at the cost of its host, and the planet does not mind giving us what we need, but in nature, taking is only part of the healthy equation of giving and taking. The state of giving can only be found once the state of taking has been shut down for the day, right? This will only happen if consumption is viewed as something more than our general destination. Our destination must be somewhere else in the higher states, right? And here we enter a clearer state of higher vibration once consumption is viewed as simply a medicine or a fuel. Once fueled, we move into more valuable states of mind. The giving part of our equation, right? And here we gently water our relationships because we need absolutely nothing. That state has been shut down. And we begin to build a place, where need is asleep, and growth in our relationships becomes the things that we fall in love with. Our garden of growth, of good karma with our neighbors and our relationships, right? Not eating and drinking. Not ringing the pleasure sensors with consumption. And it is only natural to want to ring those pleasure sensors in this physical form, right? And we are not denying that to our body, right? We simply want to ring those pleasure sensors at a higher state of mind, right? The state of giving and loving, not the state of needing, and craving. These are things that do not need to happen in our human lives. And our lives will improve when we find this out, right? So it's time to see consumption as a temporary state of mind, right? A temporary state each day. And it's time to ask ourselves what exists when that state shuts down. We know that state is a state of needing and taking, right? Certainly lying and cheating is very valuable in that state. We get more stuff, right? In a world where consumption is king, lying is a very good thing to do. But when that state goes to sleep, so does lying and cheating. So does that way of thinking, right? Because when we need absolutely nothing, those states have no value. Lying has no value, right? So there are states higher than the state of consumption. And the things we will build in that state will bring us true happiness, a happiness that cannot be found in a hamburger and a shake and french fries, but a happiness that comes from putting those things away and using consumption as a simple tool to move to a better place, right? Kind of what the car was meant for. So So that's my lesson, and thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.